Welcome to Law Firms on the Map, the go-to digital marketing show for attorneys serious about their business growth. I'm your host, Kristaps, CEO of On the Map Marketing, and today we're going to jump into a topic which is PPC for lawyers. I have a very special guest here today, Gerardo Ospina. He is our PPC Director. And the reason why I want to bring him on is because he's done something incredible that not a lot of agency leaders have even seen or experienced. He's taken our PPC department from about $100,000 a year now close to $500,000, which is $500,000. And this accomplishment has come really through success of our clients. So Gerardo, I'm really happy to have you here. Just say hello.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you for having me. Ready to talk about anything we want to talk about related to PPC.
Yeah, there you go. So just to jump into the topic, maybe in 2 words, what is PPC for, just some listeners that might not know, or just give your take on it?
Sure.
Short version, because we know you're very technical.
No problem. So PPC stands for pay-per-click, which is a type of marketing primarily done through Google, but also through many other platforms. And ultimately, what it's all about is advertising through the internet to where you can get your brand name out there, your products. Let's say if you're a law firm, for example, you're looking for leads.
Yeah.
You need lead generation. But yeah, it's advertising on the internet, and it's paid, not organic.
Right. So it's probably the top results when someone types in a keyword. First results we see are usually paid, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody Googles something, and immediately that first thing that they're going to see is going to be a PPC ad.
Of course, because Google has to get paid too.
Exactly.
All right. Well, now that we got that out of the way, thinking back about 3 years, that's when you joined us, about 3 years ago?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. And PPC for attorneys was a pretty new topic for you.
For sure. I've had some PPC experience before that, but this particular niche was new.
Yeah. And the interesting thing that struck me when you joined us was that already coming into our agency, you were managing really big budget, but only for one brand, right? What was the approximate budgets that you were managing at that time?
Yeah, that's right. I was doing in-house PPC for a budget of about $1 million a year.
Well, we have pretty decent size of portfolio of clients. What's the current budget you think you're managing right now?
So the current total budget, it definitely varies because we're always optimizing our campaigns and creating new ways to get leads.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a lot monthly. We're looking at hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow, a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
100%.
So when you joined us, we had this interesting interaction. We talked about PPC for personal injury attorneys, and I made the joke saying, if you can figure this out, you're going to be diamond hands, right? So
right.
The GameStop meme and all that. And I feel like you're starting to scratch the surface of that, because our growth that we've seen has come a lot from you managing PPC for personal injury attorneys. Can you talk a little bit on that history, how you got to this point, and what were sort of these explorational steps you took to figuring out what successful PPC campaigns for personal injury attorneys would look like?
Yeah, 100%. So like you mentioned, I started off, in a different niche. So this was new. But when we started exploring this space, obviously there was a lot of trial and error. But PPC as an industry moves so fast. Whereas even a year ago, the marketing strategies were way different compared to what we're doing now.
Right.
But ultimately, what we've been focusing on recently in the past year is very rigorous research and understanding what particular niches in the personal injury space give the best results.
Okay. Could you give me an example? Let's say I'm a Memphis personal injury attorney and I want to work with you with On the Map. What this rigorous research would look like. And you can get as specific as you want, like, pretending I'm the actual attorney,
Yeah.
So what that process would look like and what this research entails.
Sure. So it all starts with the keyword research. So number one, we have to establish what possible service areas this lawyer in Memphis can go after. Let's say motor vehicle related accidents. Maybe they accept medical malpractice.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't. Understanding everything that they can approach. That way we start doing the research in all of those particular fields. The second part of that is also location. I know a lot of lawyers think it would be a great idea to, focus on maybe one small niche. However, if they give us the opportunity and if they're able to accept clients, let's say in Memphis, if they're able to accept clients throughout all of Tennessee,
Okay.
that allows us to do our initial research, looking at the whole state and understanding what areas would be ideal to focus on.
So that's an interesting point I want to double click on. The tip you're basically saying is if you're looking to do PPC for personal injury attorneys, rather than just looking at one city, think about the entire state that you can expand on and potentially find little new nuggets of opportunities. Can you speak more on that? Why does it matter going in a broader state rather than just one city itself?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two reasons. Number one, on the research side of things, it allows us to approach the whole perspective of where our leads are from a broader scope that we can later refine as we optimize the campaigns.
Okay.
The second part of this is that Google and the Google Ads platform specifically, if you give it more data, meaning more people, more clicks, more impressions to learn from, whether in the optimization stage or in the research stage, this will allow Google's bidding strategies to perform best.
Interesting. So you're touching on some of those latest stage elements that Google AdWords now has, because I don't think that was the case 2-3 years ago. You would just pick the keyword, location, and just go straight into the typical cost per click strategies.
Yeah, no, that's 100% right. Even a couple years ago, I would have said, always start your campaigns on manual bidding and control that very strictly.
Before we go deeper, what is manual bidding for listeners?
Yeah, sure. So manual bidding is essentially you create a campaign, you pick your keywords, you decide what your budget is for the whole campaign, and then you decide manually what's the max that you would like to bid on a particular keyword to show up for that result.
So how does that have changed in 2024 from 2021?
Sure. So the biggest change, and this is kind of the big theme in Google in the past 2 years, is as you know, AI is becoming more and more powerful. So automated bidding strategies are becoming more and more favorable. You just have to know which ones to choose at what point.
Okay. So what are these decision-making factors for automated bidding?
Yeah, 100%. So like I mentioned, a couple years ago, I would have started on manual. Now there's actually a bidding strategy called maximize clicks, which for this niche in particular, I usually opt for because this bidding strategy is really powerful in terms of allowing us to collect a lot of click data at the early stages of the campaign, which is later on what's going to allow us to optimize.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, I'm the PI attorney from Memphis. We start working together. So the first month, you're trying to drive as much traffic as possible within my ad campaign. And then the second month, you're starting to optimize these campaigns? Or what are the steps that you're going to be making?
Yeah, 100%. So the first month, no matter what, is always primarily about data collection. Now, as I mentioned, that would be using the maximize clicks bidding strategy. The second month, or whenever we achieve enough click data to understand trends and make optimizations from, ideally we would like to switch either in the second month or third month, depending on the budget and the size of reach that we're going after, to a maximize conversions bidding strategy, because ultimately what we're after is leads.
So first you maximize for the clicks, then you look for trends, and I want you to talk a little bit more on that, and then you maximize the campaign for the conversions. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what are the trends you're looking for, and what are you trying to feed Google to teach about the law firm and your ad campaign?
Yeah, so this actually goes back to the research part of the conversation, because when we research, part of the reason we want a broad scope to look at, we ideally want what is to show in that forecast of the research. We ideally want at least 100 clicks per month, right? It's a bare minimum.
100 clicks, you said?
Yeah, 100 clicks.
Okay.
The reason is because this is basically, you can think of it like a census. Out of 100 people, what happened? So ideally, we would have at least as much budget as needed in order to get those first 100 clicks as fast as possible.
Okay.
Once we have that, whether it's in the first month, if it's a big enough budget, it could be the first couple weeks. If it's a small budget, it could be a month and a half.
Yeah.
Once we have that, we are able to analyze the data in a way where we're not making assumptions. We understand, hey, at least 100 people or more have taken these actions. So that allows us to go in there and implement the next bidding strategy.
Interesting. So in a way, you're almost telling Google, hey, we're serious about this campaign. We can drive at least 100 clicks.
Yeah.
So that's another interesting nugget you're giving. It's very important to drive the first 100 clicks to tell Google what your law firm is about and what your ad groups are about. Now we're getting closer to the conversion optimizations. So what are those elements that you're taking consideration to then make that switch? Are you looking at the ad groups, or what are the steps you're taking to figure that out?
Yeah, so number one, and I know I keep saying this, but it really does all come back to the research. The keywords that we selected have to be extremely niche to where all this data means something valuable to us.
Okay. Give us an example of a niche keyword.
Sure. So let's say Memphis lawyer, personal injury, and you want to focus on motor vehicle accidents.
Yeah, of course.
So-
Truck accident. I want truck accident.
Okay, perfect. So,
Yeah.
for example, a keyword that we would like to go after might be truck accident injury lawyer, as opposed to necessarily, let's say, truck crashes
Interesting.
or truck crash lawyer near me.
Yeah. So you try to build these keywords a little bit longer tail? Is that what you're saying?
Longer tail there's an element to the keywords being longer tail. However, the main thing, which I think would have probably been good to mention when we're defining PPC, is understanding the keywords with the best search intent.
Right.
Search intent meaning when somebody types in this keyword into Google, what do they really want? Somebody who types in car crash lawyer, maybe they want to, get something fixed for their car and they don't want to pay for it. But for a personal injury lawyer, this person may need to be injured for their services to apply.
Of course. So how many keywords do you usually have in one ad campaign for a PI attorney?
Yeah, so it definitely varies because it also depends on how many different service areas they can go after. Let's say car accidents, truck accidents, slip and fall accidents, dog bite. However, for each ad group, the usual range I end up finding is around 20 to 30 keywords, roughly.
Okay. And what are, of course, this question is going to come, but we're just going to use comparison as Memphis and Tennessee. If we wanted to start an aggressive MVA lead generation campaign, what the budget should look like?
Yeah, 100%. So the budget when it comes to personal injury, you're going to have to be ready to spend.
Yeah.
You're going to have to be ready to spend to make that money. And also understanding that there's going to be an optimization period in those first couple months.
So got to take that in your
Exactly.
cost.
So it's not just the monthly budget.
Yeah.
It's how long do I have to spend this monthly budget to see real results. Now, across most states, these are really competitive keywords. So usually, very rarely, I see these budgets go under 10,000 a month. Now we've definitely, experimented with some lower budget ranges, 10 to 15, and we've been able to see some results. For sure.
But what's a healthy budget you would want to see?
Yeah, a healthy budget to me is usually 20K and above. We play with budgets anywhere from 20K to 75K a month.
So I'm going to pause you real quick here. So for personal injury law firms getting serious about their MVA lead generation in metropolitan cities, 20K should be your minimum PPC budget, and that can go up to 100 plus K depending how aggressive you want to get. But Gerardo, with these type of budgets, what do you think one could anticipate for their case acquisition costs?
Yeah, so again, the case varies on different markets. What type of injuries are we talking about? Let's just continue with that car accident injury, for example. We've been able to get that case value down very low at certain points, but that range, especially starting off, you're looking at that $2,000 to $3,000 per case.
Yeah.
But the important thing to focus on here is that we're focused on your ROI, right? Your return on investment. Now, if one case may be worth $9,000 for you, maybe you're willing to pay 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And over time, those stack up to a profit where you're not even worried about your ad spend.
Of course. It's the long-term ROI. I want to shift gears a little bit and pencil in a few other PPC advertising approaches that are very popular. We'll stick within search engines, not deviating social media. In Google, very popular advertising method right now is also LSA ads, local service ads. Could you speak on these and what has been your experience? And maybe let's just start with simple explanation. What are LSA ads?
Yeah, so LSA ads are different from regular PPC Google ads because, as I mentioned before, PPC is pay per click, whereas LSA ads are you're paying for leads.
All right.
Now, that sounds great. Yeah, exactly. It sounds great. However, few people know how to really optimize these. The fact is there's less control and there's less insight when it comes to handling local service ads, LSAs. But what you can do to really optimize them is focus on how you intake these leads. LSAs is a very responsive platform. So they're very attentive towards noticing how you interact with the clients that an LSA ad might actually send to your door.
Okay.
So, for example, things like answering under 30 seconds.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, very specific things.
So if your intake is not on point, those LSA ads are not for you.
Exactly. I would mainly say that, we understand the best practices to set up your LSAs for you, and we'll give you all the ideas on how to optimize it. But ultimately, the burden falls on the client's end to make sure their intake process is seamless.
Okay. What other elements influence your appearance in these LSA ads?
Sure. So there's a lot of elements. Now, there's the big three, which starting with the first one is response rate. Response rate is, like I mentioned earlier, how fast do you pick up the phone?
Okay.
But it's also how fast and how detailed are you with categorizing each lead you receive and reporting that information back to Google.
Okay.
The second most important part is location.
Okay.
You want to go after the right
Sort of like
locations.
Google Maps.
100%. You want to go after the right location. Now, with LSAs, it can get a little tedious, right? Because ultimately, you want to give LSAs, very similarly to Google Ads, as much room as possible to play with. The general rule is, let's say, set up your LSA account if you can accept leads throughout the whole state of Tennessee, in the Memphis example, within a 300-mile radius. Now, most states, you'll be able to do that. But also adding things like the exact zip codes, the exact counties that you want to
Does it
go
matter that
after.
you have office close to where the LSA ad is served?
So it matters to an extent, but if you are able to accept clients as a business from anywhere in the state, then you have to be transparent with LSAs and say, hey, within a 300-mile radius, I have no problem, and I can even accept clients remotely.
Yeah. But does proximity play a factor in displaying your LSA ad over another law firm's?
It does to an extent. Now, ultimately, what factors in is, like I mentioned, number one, your response rate, the accurate location targeting, as big as possible, but as accurate as possible. And then lastly, your reviews.
Okay.
Now, it's not about how many reviews you get. It's about the consistency of your reviews.
Okay.
So similar to
like Google Maps.
Yeah,
It's like-
100%.
Wow. Okay. That was an interesting insight in LSA ads. What about budgets here? What are some of the expectations people could see when all those things are dialed in?
Yeah, so the budget conversation with LSAs are a little bit different because of the fact that, on several occasions we might set a larger budget than that client actually wants to experiment with. But because there are other factors that are out of our control and more in the client's control, we want to give the budget room to dominate the search results on a weekly basis, because that's how you set budgets on LSAs. It's
Okay.
per week.
So back to my Memphis example. We're spending $50,000 in traditional PPC. What should be my budget for LSAs?
Sure. So LSAs actually on their website themselves has a very useful budget
Okay.
estimator.
Yeah.
Where you
I've
type
played
in,
with it.
Yeah.
It's often correct.
So yeah, I mean, you type in some of your zip codes and
Yeah.
you get a feel for how much budget would be required for however many
Yeah.
leads you want to get. And so after doing a little bit of research and understanding how many more additional
Well,
leads,
I'm an attorney in Memphis. I'm very aggressive. So what should it be? Give me a budget.
yeah, I would say
50K in traditional PPC.
to err on the side of caution, we can set that budget to 10K a month
Okay.
for LSAs, right? Whether it spends that full amount or not, we'd find out during the
Okay.
testing. But it's okay to test this, because if you're doing it right, you're only paying for leads.
So would it be safe to say that with about now 60,000 all in, and let's just take this some kind of higher end, my case acquisition cost will be 3,000 plus. I'm getting about 20 cases a month now with this budget.
It's definitely possible.
Okay, not in the first month because we're optimizing and testing, or
Right.
it could.
Well, so I would say that first month, commit to testing and learning your strategies.
Yeah.
But in a very similar example with another client, we had around 60K in their budget. They started seeing up to 20 leads in their second month of optimization.
Wow. You're saying 20 leads or 20 cases?
Sorry, 20 cases.
Ah.
Thank you for catching that.
Okay. Well, great. We covered a lot about PPC for PI attorneys. What about some of the other more popular practice areas like PPC for criminal attorneys? Could you say the same approaches apply there?
Definitely the same approach in terms of what we like to implement on the research phase. Really big on focusing on the search intent.
Yeah.
And focusing on the right areas. Now, the difference with, let's say, a criminal lawyer or a divorce or family lawyer is that we're looking at largely different budgets here.
Okay.
So,
of course.
Yeah, personal injury is uniquely competitive. Not to say that these other categories aren't.
Right.
But these other categories you may be able to approach with smaller budgets.
Of course.
And,
Yeah. And the factor is that cost per click is a lot lower there than in PI.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to kind of take a step into another future. You know, we had the same conversation in 2 years, and I'm this personal injury attorney from Tennessee trying to scale my campaign. What do you think? What's going to be happening with the search results, with AI, all these things coming into the play?
Yeah, so what's to come is definitely very interesting because ultimately Google has been showing year over year that it's taking a little bit more control away from the advertisers in terms of the tools, which is why I thought it was important to mention, hey, maybe a year ago I would have started off using manual, but I think advertisers should get comfortable with using automated bidding strategies, comfortable with learning how to use AI to their advantage, because ultimately that's what's going to get you the most results, and that is what Google is focusing on.
Yeah. So in a way, Google is learning what kind of leads you want, and then they're able to serve you that? That sounds very utopian. Sounds almost too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean, well, at the end of the day, it's definitely going to require a lot of time before, in my opinion, before all of these bidding strategies become automated completely.
Yeah.
That's complete speculation. Even with myself using AI in our bidding strategies now, there's a ton of manual things that are required on a day-to-day basis, like adding negative keywords, like placing bid adjustments on particular locations, zip codes, audience groups, demographics. All those things are manual.
For our listeners, I just want to take a quick step back. Negative keywords are ones you put in a whole list in your AdWords campaign that you don't want Google to display your ads for, and which makes a lot of sense if you're doing automated bidding and automated ad displays. You don't really know what you kind of give it a range. Hey, I want car accident traffic, people who are looking for car accident lawyers, but do not show me for this particular group of keywords. All right, well, Gerardo, we're coming to an end of this episode, and as the closing words, maybe there's some thoughts that you want to share with our audience that we didn't get to touch on, or some takeaway point that's just in you, and you're like, you know what, I want to get that one out.
Well, I would say it's hard to choose, because when it comes to optimizing a PPC campaign, there's so many elements, and we go extremely deep with it. But out of the topics that we did touch, I just want to mention how important all of those are. From the initial phase of understanding who a particular client, or in this case a lawyer, what type of leads they want, to the keyword research, to giving us enough room, budget, location targeting to really craft the best campaign for you.
Yeah.
All of those things are extremely important, and understanding that, hey, this is paid advertising. You got to pay to get started. And if you're willing to put in the investment, you can get really big returns.
Nice. And anything, a lot of those things you talked about are pretty technical. I imagine the relationship is crucial between the attorney and the agency.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's another big part of a successful campaign. You want to establish trust between you and whoever you're working with, just like any other business partner relationship. So the way we like to do that is being completely transparent. We like to give you all your numbers through a live link you can always access.
Yeah.
We like to have frequent conversations. How's it going? Like, what kinds of leads are you experiencing? What are you getting on your end that maybe we are missing on our end? Having that constant dialogue, it's a team effort. So it ends up becoming a much more successful campaign if that happens.
Well, I love it. I love it. So audience, if you're listening to this and you want to have Gerardo on your team, reach out to us. We can set something up. And it's true fact, Gerardo doesn't just sit behind a computer. He's actually on a lot of client calls, strategy calls, figuring out where the budgets are going. There's no secret team here in another country. This is the team. We're all working together. We do have office in Latvia, so there is another team in my home country. But that's not the point. The point is we're here to help our clients grow. ROI is most important. Transparency is crucial. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the ROI. And at the end of the day, if all those things align, we're having an amazing time. Everyone's growing, and we can just keep getting to the next level. Thank you so much, Gerardo. That was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to bring you back on and talk about maybe $1 million a month PPC campaigns.
Let's do it.
All right, thanks.